A Thief's Tale. Nick's first step was buying himself a tool serf. Like the rest of its race, the tool was tall, muscular, and grey-skinned. He looked tough and rather dumb, though it wasn't his intellect Nick was after. All he needed was a body. Nick had spent his last month dodging death, snooping around, gathering whatever intel he could find on the cult's fallen star caves. The story was, 30 years ago a miner was digging for coal when his pickaxe struck some rock. Turned out, hidden within that unremarkable rock was a New World artifact. The local appraiser identified the unique artifact for what it was and unlocked its powers. They called it the Black Book. It was also rumoured that so long as the book was close enough, it gave the miner the power to kill people simply by touching them. Doubtless, such an otherworldly power came at a price. An expected development when an artifact and a conduit fell into symbiosis. None of this scared Nick. The young thief was confident that once he got his adroit hands on the Black Book, he would learn far more than the parlour tricks it had revealed to an illiterate coal miner. And he was willing to pay the price. The miner chose the fallen star crater as the Black Book's holy site, and every madman desiring to briefly wield the power of the Death Touch descended on the once sleepy mining town. Here, they played their parts in the miner's terrible rituals and paid him in gold for the privilege. Lots and lots of gold. The young thief's plan was straightforward, but clever. He had learned that once a month, the cultists bought fresh tool serfs and had them driven into the caves. Nick planned to use the tool's body to mingle with those serfs, and thus penetrate the caves right to the cult's treasury, without drawing the attention of its death-wielding guards. With the amount of gold going into these caves, Nick was confident that, Black Book or not, he would find enough loot there to make up for the price of the serf, or that should he fail to get his hands on anything of value, the secrets he would learn there would surely fetch a fair price at the Thieves' Guild. Besides, even if things didn't go according to plan, Nick would be in no danger personally. His own body would be far away from there, and no harm would come to it. The body keepers would see to that. The only creature risking his skin on this adventure would be the poor tool. Nick programmed the Soul Swapper, used the last of his money to rent a body pod after applying the Safekeep Day promo, and initiated the consciousness transfer. A split second later, his own body lay secure in its pod, surrounded by a protective stasis field. He was still Nick, and yet he was also now Thargarius. He had the synth's memories. He recalled being bred in a starship incubator to help the colonists. Correction, not him, but the original prototype, the New World's first humanoid helper. That was some time prior to the fall, a long time ago. He also knew he had to serve whoever was paying for him, paying with gold. Gold too served a purpose, and he must get it. Get it at any cost. It was Nick's first experience swapping with a tool, and the rush of synth's thoughts staggered him. But the feeling lasted only a moment. Soon all that remained of Thargarius was his body, which was now the young thief's to command, the body that was to steal the cultist's treasure. Using the tool's body, Nick entered the town. To avoid drawing attention to himself, Nick walked as masterless tools usually did. The synths were a regular feature of town life. There were dozens of them, living on the streets like stray dogs. They often wandered around aimlessly, hoping to find someone willing to pay them in gold. And when they found a master, they obeyed his every word for as long as they lived. Nick was slowly making his way through the town like a real tool. He spent 2 whole minutes near some tree, standing very still. Inside he was giggling. The last couple of days he had spent observing tools untamed by gold were paying off. He was making a very convincing tool. A small group of serfs led by a cultist were setting out for the caves. Nick's research had taught him that the cult's adepts were capable of temporarily storing some of the book's power, meaning the farther they were from the book, the less dangerous they became. This particular cultist was wearing a leather cuirass and was armed with an expensive steel-bladed spear, aside from the supposed death touch, that is. Nick fell in with the group, thinking the infiltration went completely unnoticed. The journey was soon over. The mining town was built close to the crater. Following the other tools, Nick went down the heavily guarded path that led into the caves. The young thief knew the road well. He had already been there before, scouting a way in. Now he could look around as much as he liked, his own body being far away, stored safely within the body keeper's vault. Upon reaching the crater's bottom, Nick and his group passed the cult's fearsome guards, veteran warrior tools, strong and battle-hardened, and entered the subterranean labyrinth. There, after squeezing through a number of winding passages, the group suddenly came to a halt in a narrow, dusty hall, half lit by torches. Nick was disappointed. He had hoped to get inside of the treasury, or at least snatch a glimpse of the cult's terrible artifact. He imagined how he would sit in the thief's luck, sipping beer and regaling his fellow patrons with a tale, sufficiently embroidered, of the labyrinthine caves and the gold that was, alas, almost within his grasp. A cultist was making his way through the throng of serfs towards Nick. As he passed, the creatures collapsed in limp heaps around him, without so much as a sound, as if instantly disconnected from their power source. The man's hands were glowing with something resembling a black flame that was slowly streaming up his arms. Nick decided to stand his ground, reaching back with his hand to give the cultist a solid thump on the head. Perhaps the blow would knock the man down, and he would play it by ear from there. He had made it pretty far already. He was ready for a fight. Back in the keeper's vault, a tremendous burst of energy shook the system. The pod's sensors registered the anomaly, and the stasis field duly absorbed the spike. This was old Earth tech after all, built to protect life even at the epicenter of a nuclear explosion. And yet it proved ill-equipped for the task. The customer who had so recently entrusted the keepers with his body perished, suddenly and inexplicably, disrupting the protocols and the age-old ways of the reputable institution. In the morning, when the pod's automatic door hissed open, instead of the promising new customer, the astonished keepers found only a pile of ashes. So much for Safekeep Day.